Get on the train before it leaves the station. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down.
Hello everybody, this is a upload I'm doing that some of you may have seen over on Mr. Capaldi's channel last night, where him and I just kind of chatted a bit about Brendan, the Rav, and some other things. So I thought I would go ahead and upload it here for the morning of December 26th. So this is Paul and I having a little chat on Christmas Day, late in Christmas Day. Well, actually mid-morning, or 3 a.m. or so, or 2 a.m. for him over in the UK of the 26th. But for me, pretty late on actually the 25th of December, Christmas itself. So this is a little chat between Paul and I. Hope you guys who missed it will enjoy it. Here you go.
Good evening, everybody. Finally managed to track him down. He's been quite elusive. He's been looking a bit tired, I must admit, these last couple of days. I suspect it's been full moons over there.
The countdown took its toll.
Full moon on Crunch Island. Ow!
Yeah. Because they don't let werewolves like us into Hogwarts, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, you were talking earlier about your trip down Avery Road, but we won't go into that too much, will we? Our little
I enjoy talking about that stuff. Like I said, I mean, it's fun. I enjoyed watching people watching MAM2 and kind of watching that wave of people coming in and wanting to absorb, all the information they could again. I mean, I dig that. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's like I just didn't know what I was letting myself in for. That's the only problem. It was yeah. Do one video, yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah, I remember.
That'll be good. That'll be do one video. Just
just do one more, man. Come on, man.
Go through a bit of what I had to chat with Mr. Herman and just leave it at that, Oh, that's and you actually said, well, oh, that's okay if you just want to do the one. I was hoping you would do more, but if you just want to do the one, that's fine, But
the next thing we knew, you were making 4 or 5 videos. Then you had one with Wiegert, because you had an email with Wiegert, and you had a slow pace. You didn't you weren't like doing a lot of content, but you eventually got to the point where recently, it's like almost every day we were getting a Ken Kratz video.
Yeah, I tend not to do too much content. It's more opinion.
Right.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not investigating new stuff. For example, we've got the moment we've got Millbilly posting all those videos of the phone conversations, which are very interesting, and we're learning stuff from that. But yeah, it's. I think I've done something like, and they're not all making a murder videos, but you were saying about the fact I've just recently went over the 1,000 subscribers, and I've done something like one video for every 2 subscribers, which is it's. Listen,
hey, where were you when you started? You were only at like what?
20.
60? Oh, 20, right? Yeah, 20. Yeah, I think so.
And when I first started, it was purely from the point of view of putting on the odd music video for the benefit of pupils, and that was all I was interested in. In fact, my very first video that I ever put on YouTube was actually one of it's quite an unusual thing. It's a DMX controller called a Chauvet Obey 40, which is as I say, a DMX controller. I can actually, with my electronic accordion, I can actually control disco lighting from the keys of my accordion. And somewhere my daughter has actually got a video of me doing that, where I can press various keys and the lights change depending on which key you press.
No.
It's actually quite good fun. But
Right. Sounds cool.
yep. But no, it's. I mean, I first started watching you and Laura and Mama Phoenix. They were three of the main. You Laura and Mama Phoenix were the main three that were posting videos. I seem to remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you mentioned once there was a guy. Was he called Lionel Nation?
No, Lionel. Yeah, Lionel. Yeah. He's done a few videos about Stephen and Brendan. He's pretty mainly political. Over on his channel, it's more about the politics. But as a lawyer, he had some opinions about Stephen and Brendan, and he was interesting. He's a character, but he's interesting.
Yeah. I wanted to first of all, but by the way, happy Christmas to Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, and
happy holidays.
Well, yes, I'm not yet merry, but I'm planning on getting merry pretty soon once I get back upstairs. Yeah. Yeah. What does your hat say?
I have the King of Beers.
What does your hat say?
It says, "Cheers, Grinches."
Grinches.
Yes.
Well, without you telling us what it says,
my video earlier today when I started talking.
Yeah, you showed us, but you never told us what it was.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Oh, goodness gracious!
It's too early in the morning, or it's too late at night for you to haver.
Never too late for a good bit of haver. I want to ask you about.
Millbilly's here. Hey, what's up, Millbilly?
Yeah. Nice to see Millbilly.
Cheers, King of Beers. Here we go.
Wow.
Yeah, every once in a while I actually drink Budweiser. It's
Yeah. You drink Stella as well. I've seen you drink Stella.
I actually like Stella though.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it a lot better than Budweiser.
Sure.
No, Travis. Champagne of beers. That would be Miller. Miller MGD. Miller Genuine Draft. Champagne of beers. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, just before we go any further, can we just address this one?
What do you guys think about? I essentially have no opinion. I respect Richard Boyd's right to support Donald Trump if that is what he wants to do. Only thing that I would have a bone to pick with is when he was talking about assassinations and illegal things, murderous things, which those of us who are in this for the right reasons are not trying to perpetuate more murderous acts and everything. We're trying to figure out what happened, obviously, on Avery Road, but we're not trying to create more murderous acts to happen in other places. So when he got a little out there with the threatening of the possible assassination attempts, I was a little concerned, I'll say. Anyway.
Yeah, I think in fairness, we have to take Mr. Boyd slightly tongue-in-cheek. I struggle at times, I must admit, in even making out what it is he's saying, particularly when you get the Americans say things in a certain way, which means something to another American, but for me from the outside, I don't know. Are they being literal? Are they? It's I don't know in what context to take sometimes what's been said. What I would say is that Richard Boyd has been sending me his videos for a long time, and we get on pretty well. So actually, before I get on to question number one, here is a preliminary question that I've always wanted to ask you about. Were you ever of the opinion that there might be more than one RAV4? Has that ever been on your radar?
there was a time when I was more willing to consider the possibility. I am still willing to entertain the possibility of it. However, my current opinion is that the probability of it is low, and that it most likely was just lighting that was causing some odd things to happen. Because that is something that happens with some of these metallic paints, these pearlescent paints, or these metallic paints, or fleck, or whatever, sparkle paints. They do have the ability of changing color under different kinds of light. And there is different kinds of light, folks. I mean, I'm work as an electrician, and I can tell you, you can install like 3,000, I believe it's 3,000 Kelvin bulbs and stuff like that. And those have more of a yellow light, more of what's like natural sunlight, more of an amber glow to the light. Then you have, like, say, up in the like 6,000 range, and that's where the light is more blue. Actually, like cool white kind of bulbs and stuff like that, to where the hue of the light is actually maybe a tiny tint of blue to it, and so that's the difference. And so those different kinds of lights can do different types of things on different surfaces and with different paints. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that I'm certain there isn't multiple RAV4s. I'm just saying it seems improbable to me, and those are the reasons why.
Yeah, I mean, you said something there. Sorry, you said different light. I'm thinking, yeah, different light. You also get different weather. It's
those halogen lights are like not like proper sunlight. They're more of that cool white. They burn with that cool white and less of that amber. So that could have been a factor of it. So.
Yeah. But you're the expert when it comes to weather, because you understand the fact that some places have different weather compared with.
When I'm flying home. Yeah. Okay, buddy.
Sorry, I could not resist. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I know.
Mark's on the chat as well.
Hey, look, I expect that when I'm just trying to speak quickly and I tell people, like, look, I'm stuck in Chicago because there's some weather, they understand that means that, the planes can't go yet because the weather was significant enough that they're on the ground. Oh, okay. Most people would put that together. I obviously need to be a little more, gotta take your hand and kind of,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? The fact that you did some videos as well where you kind of wondered if some of the images had been photoshopped.
I didn't do those videos. Joe Burns.
Right.
Joseph Burns, for those of you who haven't checked those out. But yeah, he's done a couple videos where he feels that he's revealing masking in the photos and stuff of the RAV.
Yes, I'd just like to introduce you to Mr. Erekose.
Erekose.
Erekose. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
How's it going, what's up, Hod?
Well, at least he's on the coast, so not too much problem where he is with the bushfires, but they have been
Australian wildfires.
Yeah, bit of a problem.
Wow. Hey, we get those in Southern Cali all the time, but I mean, I saw that it was getting pretty crazy there. It was burning quite a bit of land. Hey, by the way, Mark, do you guys get those very often, brush fires, or is this like a freak thing that's just like freaking everybody out?
No. I'm sure that there's been every year. It just keeps getting hotter and hotter, and they get more and more fires on the go. But
so do we.
It was just that the smoke is getting quite kind of So there's
that happened here,
yeah. Roads out of Sydney that are actually closed because you cannot actually get.
It literally rain ash for days after they finally get it out, and it'll still be raining ash for like days, and like you'll come out in the morning and your car will be covered in ash, like there'll be a layer of dust on your car, and it's just ash that's been falling all night.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So okay, it does happen quite often. So okay, so they're used to that type of thing. That's why they're talking about here. Been hearing more and more talk here in scientific circles and stuff, like on science channels and stuff like that, where they talk about these wildfires, and they talk about controlled burns.
Yeah.
Are the way to go.
Yes.
So that you do small areas and burn out all that underbrush, all that undergrowth, and burn it out in small areas in a controlled way, so that it can easily be squashed if it does get out of hand or start to get out of hand. It can easily be handled real quick, and but when you remove all of that, it's hard for it to be ignited and to spread a wildfire. You know, if that ever happens, once that undergrowth is gone, that's usually the cause of the fire itself, is that there's so much undergrowth that somebody throws a cigarette or something into it, and then poof, a fire emerges. You know.
Yeah, so. I mean, a couple of stories that spring to mind here in Scotland. Many years ago, I used to teach a pupil who lives right at the foot of the Eildon Hills, which are the three big hills which you often see me post pictures of. And the middle one actually caught on fire. And where this pupil's house was, we were right next to this hill going up on fire. And we could actually see the fire spreading down the hill. Mm-hmm. And for a couple of years afterwards, it was always, at times, it was almost a bit of a joke between me and the pupil, the fact that the day that the middle Eildon went on fire, the tune she was learning was On Top of Old Smoky, which was kind of funny. But also, we had, I knew this guy who played the bagpipes on the border between Scotland and England at a place called Carter Bar. And the bus tours would stop. And this one day, the bus tour stopped. And you could see for miles. So you could see all the way to Kelso. And they were burning one of the fields, because they do that in order to, as you say, partly to regenerate the to get rid of the old crop, so that then it puts the stuff back into the soil, doesn't it? Anyway, they were burning this field, and one of the tourists got out and said, "Oh, what's going on over there?" Quick as a flash, that the guy was like, "Oh, damn, that volcano gone up again," and they're all like they're flashing with their cameras, I mean, it was just a wind up, because there's no volcanoes. There's no volcanoes in Scotland, at least anymore. There aren't,
Right.
Although when you come to Edinburgh, Edinburgh is without doubt the most beautiful city in Europe, probably in the world, because right in the middle you've got Arthur's Seat. You can actually go up it and look around the whole of Edinburgh. It's spectacular.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to put in words how spectacular Edinburgh is. You actually have to go there, and the problem is, for a lot of
Lane says Stirling Castle's better.
No, it's not a patch on Edinburgh. With you've got Edinburgh Castle, but then you've got, as I say, Arthur's Seat, which is a huge. Well, it's a huge hill right in the centre of Edinburgh.
Okay.
You can actually drive up it.
Ah.
And there's Princess Street Gardens and the rest of it. I mean, yes, Stirling's quite nice, but Edinburgh is far superior.
So you're an Edinburgher. You hear that, Sharon?
Oh, very much so, yeah. And it wasn't just me; it was my uncle who had played at various piano bars throughout Europe, who said that it's he's been everywhere, in the UK and abroad, even the Bahamas and places further afield. He said, after his first couple of days in Edinburgh, he said, "This is the most beautiful place I've ever been in."
I gotta say, I think I understand now why Derek was so conflicted to offer his opinion that he liked Glasgow better. He probably had been getting browbeat by you the same way he did over Captain Crunch, and so that's probably
I think people from Edinburgh are slightly. Some of them are a little bit. You get the Morningsiders, as they're called. They are the people that live in apparently the posh side of Edinburgh, around about Morningside and Collington Road. You know, and they are very, very posh. You know, but I mean, you do get posh areas of Glasgow as well. With I believe Kelvinside is quite posh, but probably more in Edinburgh than you do in Glasgow. And I mean, you know, let's face it, the people in Glasgow, they are very friendly. They are very friendly.
It's the friendliest city in Europe, man.
Well, it's who's judging that? You know, it's.
It was I think 4 or 5 different polls actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So getting on to, well, first of all, I had a message from Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
And ran on about stuff like blah 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 blah. To which I replied, I put Woody Woodpecker. Happy Christmas, Woody. I have a lot more to say about this, but let's leave it for another day.
Yeah,
Okie dokie. Because you know today's Christmas Day. You know I don't think we need to sort of, you know, a little bit like in the First World War and the Second World War, whatever, when the Brits and the Germans, they got out the trenches and had a game of football and then went back to blasting one another. But today is not the day to blast guilters, because my first question is this. Mm-hmm. We famously hear Tom Fallon say that innocent people don't confess. And I think the big, very good.
Somebody was asking, I just wanted to show it. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that one of Manitowoc's finest. Because that's where it's brewed, isn't it? It's brewed in Manitowoc. It's probably brewed in a few places.
Yes, there is a Budweiser brewery there, yes. There's also one here where I live, but anyway.
Yeah, well, can you taste the difference?
Actually, the one here is bigger than the one in Manitowoc, but anyway.
No, taste, not size, taste.
Taste?
Is there any difference? Is there any difference in taste?
I don't know. I didn't drink Budweiser in Manitowoc. I don't usually drink Budweiser here, but anyway.
You go all the way to Manitowoc where they've got a big Budweiser brewery. You were telling me
there's an even bigger one. Never mind.
You were telling me we must go around the Budweiser factory. What do you decide to do? Take me off to Nina for the afternoon.
Yeah, well, hey, what am I gonna do? I'm a busy guy. People want my time. You know, what are you doing? Sorry, I didn't get to have all just fun and games. You know.
No, I've seen the evidence. You didn't partake of much dancing, but we did have fun and games.
No, Oh yeah, at night. Yeah, yeah. You know, what else were we gonna do? Couldn't have gone to the brewery at 2 a.m. It wouldn't have probably worked out very well for us.
Oh, we had a brewery back at the Rally House, so that was fine.
That was it, right?
Yeah.
You emptied that place out of Fireball.
Okay. Can we quickly move on to my question?
Sure.
Okay, which is this: that if innocent people don't confess, the other side of that is the fact that guilty people do confess, and this is where I feel that people, particularly, shall we say, certain guilters, the ones that are slightly more realistic about things. You know, I'm sure that when it comes to guilters, there's a broad spectrum of people. I mean, hell, we even know of people who think that Brendan is innocent, but that Steve is guilty. Then you've got the ones that are, your likes of your Falcons, who is still thinking they're both guilty, and then you've got the ones, the ones that are sort of extreme and some of them off the scale that we know about. But for some of them, the problem is that, although it's wrong to say that innocent people don't confess, it is a fact that guilty people do confess, and so therefore, for them, how do they know? How do they know that Brendan's confession isn't genuine?
Number of ways, but yeah, okay. A number of ways with Brendan, personally. The fact that nothing came from him, number one.
Right. Well, there's a good start. So how do you mean nothing came from him?
In other words, all the facts that he came up with, these so-called facts that he came up with, were all fed to him by the investigators, and he was prodded when he wasn't getting to them quickly. He was prodded and kind of kind of groomed, and then they would lead him down the path again and try and get him to say it. I mean, it's all a clear and obvious exercise in getting Brendan to say the things they want him to say. It's pretty darn obvious when you watch it. And it's not coming from Brendan. It's all the things that he ends up saying were all said by the investigators first. So, and then you add to that the crowning moment, the cherry on top, the point where Mark Wiegert says, well, I'm just going to come out and say it. Who shot her in the head? Well, there you go. That was the last thing you could have had to actually have convincing proof that this confession was real, but you just sacrificed that possibility because you just blurted it out. Because why? Because they wanted Brendan to say it back. They wanted him on tape saying, "Oh, Steve," or "Oh, I shot her," or "Oh, Steve shot her," or "Oh, whatever," and so that they have him, a soundbite of him talking about her being shot in the head.
Yeah, I would also, obviously that is, as I say, that's an iconic moment. I mean, that is such that part of the interrogation is so famous that even our good friend Charlie Berens did a parody of that to show how ludicrous that whole situation was. The other thing that's interesting is the fact that you've got supposed facts that Brendan came up with, none of which have been corroborated.
None that could be, right.
But
claims that Brendan raped or stabbed or did any other such thing, there's absolutely zero proof to support those things ever happened.
Yep. I mean, obviously, for some of the guilters, that's problematic because you cannot prove either way. I suppose he said that he did them. Almost certainly he did not do them. But then, because you cannot prove that those facts are false because there's no evidence of that, it also tends to mean that, well, there's no evidence to prove it. There's no evidence to disprove it, isn't it? Right. But isn't the big problem here the fact that we're not saying that Steve and Brendan, ideally we would want them to be released just because the state realised that they are innocent. But all we're saying is, with all this wonkiness about the case, we're simply saying just give the guys a fair trial.
Right.
We're not saying they're absolute. Well, we are pretty sure in the truth that they didn't do it. We can see the one. We can see the 80 more things. We can see the 90, 100 more things. All we're just saying is, look, give them their day in court in a fair, under fair circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My next question. Tony Evers.
The politician.
Yeah, I'm probably not as critical of him as maybe some people have been. For me, the fact that Scotus did not take Brendan's case, whereas Governor Evers could have done something and might still do something for Brendan. What Scotus could have done is they could have put a marker in the sand, drawn a line and said, this has got to stop. They had that opportunity, I feel. I'm sure you feel the same, don't you?
Yeah.
If they'd have taken on Brendan's case with all those amicus briefs.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's yeah.
Why
Who
did
knows? I mean,
Seth Raxman? I mean, what was his official title again?
well, he was brought on as he was brought on as Brendan Dowsey's counsel. He was
Yeah,
added
but
to.
previous to that, he was something to do with the Clinton
Oh
administrator.
well, he was Solicitor General for the
Solicitor.
Clinton.
That's it. Yeah, Solicitor General.
Ooh.
Too many full moons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but for somebody like him to come on board and say, look, you need to look at this, and yet for me, I hate to say this, and I know that one of the ways that you can really insult somebody, particularly in America, is call them a coward. That is one thing that will enrage them. It enraged Herman when I called him a coward. He got really, really offended at that, as you well remember, because I filled you in on the details. But
Right.
for me, the Supreme Court not taking Brendan's case, that was sheer cowardice. They should have taken on the case, and it would have led. I feel it would lead to change.
I would hope so. I mean, I'm disappointed because this was where the Supreme Court could have created a path for juveniles to get out of to escape the scrutiny of the state that they were convicted in, and allow it to be honestly evaluated by the federal courts. They had the ability to create that pathway here, and they completely let it slip. Everybody keeps telling me how it's a habeas case and it doesn't matter. Oh, it matters. Lots of other kids are going to be coming out on habeas like Brendan. They're going to be seeking habeas relief like Brendan. And had the Supreme Court done the right thing here, those kids would now be able to have some amount of faith that if they get granted habeas relief, that AEDPA isn't going to be there to kneecap them in the end.
Well, I think that for one thing, what Netflix is doing is every week it seems there's a new series, there's a new film, there's a new documentary series. Very, very, very interesting. I suspect you still haven't watched The Confession Killers.
You are absolutely right. I haven't yet.
And so I
should
won't
have done that today, but I was busy doing a few other things.
No. You've got plenty of time. Apparently, you're off for a few days. So you sit down and enjoy that. You honestly, trust me, you will enjoy particularly the second and third episodes with Vic Fazell.
Yeah.
And do you know who recommended it to me to watch and said must watch this?
Who said that?
Texas Two Counters. He was the one that told me you must watch this Confession Killers, and of course he knows a lot of the players in that case. So yeah, definitely watch it. And
Netflix was suggesting it. It seemed to me pretty much immediately. I mean, it was as soon as I assume as soon as it came out. Because I saw Netflix suggest it to me before you were telling me about it. So
yeah. Oh, every time it comes out, they send you that. I mean, I've just recently watched the what time are we? We're nearly 2 a.m. The latest one is Don't Fuck with Cats, which isn't a comment on Stephen Avery tossing.
Oh yeah. That kid that was right and chasing down that kid that did something terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even watch what he did because I've seen enough of those kinds of videos. I don't like having that imagery in my head.
You don't see what he did.
Yeah.
They don't include the actual footage because that's just like obviously too gross. But anyway, we're not here
I've seen things before that I don't. I wish I didn't. I wish I could unsee. I'll put it that way. It pisses me off. It makes me very, very angry to see that type of stuff. I saw one where a kid had. I mean, this was on Facebook. and there was kid had like a bucket, and you see all these little like kittens. I think it was either kittens or puppies, and then you just see this kid launching them one by one out into this river, out in the middle of this river, and it's like the urge to kill that little son of a,
Yeah.
Dude, I was just the fragility of a baby, like that. I was just dude. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff fills me with a rage that just, man. Don't ever want to catch. You don't ever want me to catch you doing something like that. You know what I mean? Like in real life.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing about this this latest documentary for me, and you'll need to watch it first because it is distressing, obviously, but you need to sit down and watch it and realize what's going on in that. There's as with so often these Netflix, the reason why they are spread over 4 or 5 hour-long episodes is because there are stories within stories within stories that you need to you need to know about.
Right.
It is purely for shock value. That's what people do it. I mean, obviously, famously, we've got Stephen did time for what happened to the cat. Is Ken Kratz capable of doing that? I would say absolutely. When you look at what he's capable of doing to fellow human beings,
right.
He is just as twisted and warped as any of these guys. I mean, let's face it. What he has done is he's tried to bury 2 people alive,
right?
And that's pretty sick. But anyway, moving swiftly on to Tony Evers.
Or back to, you mean? Yeah.
Sorry, back to Tony. Yeah, sorry. I noticed, first of all, Laura Nyrider has invited Tony Evers to go and visit Brendan.
Yeah.
She said, go and visit him, see the person. All I would do is, please, Tony, when you go along, if you go along and Carla's there, please do not play cards against her. She will whip your butt, as they say, but no, getting on to the serious thing. Yeah, if he was to go along and see what Brendan's really like, I think that would make a huge impact. But my question to you is simply this: when did Steve and Laura appeal to Governor Evers for clemency? Was it September, October time?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
why is it
just a few months ago? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we heard right from the word go. I remember when we were at Raleigh in June, there was mention of the fact that
talk about it, right?
Well, it was mentioned the fact that Brendan would not be eligible to go toward in front of the parole board, and we know that for the simple fact that you have to be is it 5 years released?
You have to be
And what was the other condition? 5 years released.
No new violations.
Oh, is that what it is? Right. Okay.
All various
So it was mentioned then that the parole board, although it's been reinstated, wouldn't be looking at would that was it. They would not be looking at a case of anybody who was considered to be a sexual.
But they stayed away from sexual crimes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So bearing that in mind, why has he taken 2 months at least to come up with a decision? When his decision was so brief and cursory, he could have done that. As soon as Stephen Law, he could have just sent a message straight back. Nope, definitely not. he has clearly, and this was one of the things that I asked our friend Woody Woodpecker. What do you think that Tony Evers has actually considered that and thought about it and really considered it?
No.
And they did, and well, the opinion was yes.
Well, I mean, that's what I think. Obviously, go ahead.
That he did. He did consider. I think most of us are saying that. Yeah, It's not something that a decision. I don't think that he's taken lightly.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he's presented it from the point of view that here is the parole board, this is what they say. It's almost like he's Pontius Pilate. He's just washed his hands of it and said, I don't want anything to... Yeah, exactly. This is what Travis has just come up with it. He didn't make an application under the parole board process. Absolutely. It was nothing to do with the parole board. It was above their heads, wasn't it? It was all about...
And yet that's where our answer came from. That's why it's a cop-out, yeah.
Well, is it a cop-out? Or is it
a bit of a cop-out, yeah.
Distance himself,
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. He made a political decision, not a humanitarian one. So. He's a politician in the end. That's what he proved.
But do you think that he's taken time to consider it?
I don't think he took time to consider it. No, I don't. To give that kind of a lip service answer, if you actually looked at Brendan's case, you could not possibly give that ridiculously stupid of a lip service answer. You would if you were still going to deny it, you would still acknowledge what happened. You would say, despite of the fact that, these things are disturbing, we ultimately think this. You wouldn't have given the stupid lip service answer you gave. That because it wasn't an appeal to the parole board, it was an appeal to Mr. Evers. So to have your answer basically be the parole board answering for you was chicken shit. There you go. I said it.
Yeah, you can say what you like. I don't mind. Again, Travis. I hate it when it just whizzes past. Do you ever do that for you? Or have you got?
I used to back in the days. Yeah.
Have you got your computer trained? Because mine
back when I had 100 people in a live at a time, and the thing was just going.
Yeah.
Yeah, they asked the governor to do that. That's I'm not disagreeing with you, Travis, that was what was asked for. What I'm saying is that that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm. My problem with that would be, I think you know perfectly well that I think we all, don't we? We want Stephen and Brendan to walk free, exonerated. Surely. Mm-hmm. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah.
One of my big concerns when this first clemency business first started out was the fact that if the state were to play a bit of a crafty move, they could say, well, I'll tell you what, then let's let Brendan out. There'll be a big hoo-ha about Brendan out, and everybody will forget about Stephen Avery, and it'll be a case of, well, it would kind of halve the number of people clamoring for the pair of them to be out, because I suppose in the same way that we've got people...
I believe it would hurt the numbers.
Yeah, in the same way that we've got some people who think that, Stephen is guilty but Brendan is innocent. You'd have quite a few of those that would say, well, Steve's kind of damaged goods. He's spent so many years in prison anyway. He's probably resigned to it. Which is a terrible way of doing it, isn't it? Because what we're finding out is all these people. Some of the people being exonerated are being exonerated after 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
But this is one of the reasons why I want you to watch this Confession Killers, because there's
Right.
other stories, there's other spin-offs from Confession.
I'm imagining that the only way this guy was able to confess to so many different murders and all that sort of stuff the way he did was, I bet it was a similar situation that we see with Brendan, where he was claiming that he did something and officers were getting into a room with him and they were starting to feed little bits of it to him so that he could start telling them what they wanted to hear. And I'll bet you that that's the way it went, because I don't believe that officers have or interrogators seem to have a scruple about feeding information. It seems to be perfectly acceptable behavior, from what I can tell, and that is problematic for me, because that makes confessions questionable.
As I say, the reason I've started looking at the decision of Judge William Duffin is that for me, he's the first person to look at Brendan's case who doesn't have, for want of a better word, a bit of a vested interest in it.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, you've got the state that prosecuted, the judge, the jury found him guilty, the judge sentenced him, and then Judge Fox is then the one that hears the appeals, and then it goes to the Supreme Court, I believe, but they didn't publish an opinion. They just reaffirmed what the previous court had said. Right. So it was. It's very interesting reading through that Judge Duffin's decision, because he does address most of the things that you would, particularly you, are talking about. He even talks, although he doesn't talk. Well, I've read the bit where he mentions the control question, although he doesn't call it the control question. But it does get into some very interesting stuff there with the. As I say, this is the first person that's looked at it sensibly, and the fact that he's come up with a 91-page decision.
Right, that's not common. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about this Andy Colburn.
That.
Well, I mean, at the moment, as far as I can tell, we've got all these guilters that are all very happy because the judge, is it Judge somebody Penny, who seems to be quite pally with some of the
Greaseback and Colburn and
but all she's done so far is say that the statute of limitations doesn't apply, that in fact that this case can go forward, because that's what Netflix was saying, was first and foremost he can't have his case because of the statute of limitations, and they've said no, and apparently the judge is like, well, no, that's apparently the decision has come out that it can progress to an evidentiary hearing. But is that not exactly what Zellner wants to hear? Andy Colburn on the witness stand.
I mean, it'll be interesting if we get the depositions on that.
Can you remember the actual sort of just after Andy Colburn in the documentary is being challenged about were you looking at that? I mean, first of all, right. Number one sign of somebody lying. No, I didn't say that. I'm sure somebody else. I'm sure the other person said that. I'm sure. No, I didn't say that. Oh, that was the other person that said that. That's one of the first obvious signs of somebody lying, isn't it? Right. When he says, and you answered 99 and he says, no, I think the dispatcher said that. No, Andy, you knew perfectly well it was you that said that. Right. But that's the type of BS that sometimes these cops come out with. But if you remember that later on, after that sort of court scene, you then cut to Anjanette Levy asking Dean Strang, this is a guy puts a gun on, puts his badge on, goes out to work every day, and was basically criticizing him, that is Dean Strang, for having a go at Andy Colburn, saying that his 7-year-old son would be upset by the fact that you've made him look like a complete twat.
Right.
And it's just like, well,
it's not Dean that did it. It's not
No.
Dean that made him look that way.
No.
It's his own actions that made him look that way.
Exactly. So I'm by the way, that word that I've just said then is completely different in Scotland than it is elsewhere, by the way. So don't worry about that.
All right.
But he is. He's a fool. He's a complete idiot to think that he's going to get away with it. I really am looking forward to him getting up on the witness stand, having to explain about Kevin Ramlow.
Travis is saying that. What did he say? It wouldn't be an evidentiary hearing; it would proceed to discovery. So, I guess discovery leading up to a trial. So,
I heard that it had gone to the judge had agreed that it will go to an evidentiary hearing.
I heard that they agreed that they would let Mike Griesbach and Colburn refile because they had screwed up. And basically, it should have been dismissed. 90% of the time, I think it would have been dismissed. But because there seems to be a chummy nature between the judge and Griesbach and Colburn, suddenly this one, they went ahead and gave Griesbach and Colburn the ability to refile their brief.
Oh, right, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, like I said, it's a little bit like the Packers are in the Super Bowl, and all the referees have all fallen down with illness, so they get a few Packers fans to do the
ticket holders, right?
Yeah, to run the game. Okay, that's interesting. I suppose one final thing that we kind of I never really got to talk about much. Somebody in our group posted a really funny picture, and it was of two young kids and a police officer saying to them, "So what's your name?" And the one saying, I'm not going to tell you without a search warrant, and I want my attorney. And when you've got the situation whereby we're getting to now, the police, sheriff's department, whatever, investigators, the lack of trust in them must be ridiculous because of all of these cases that we're seeing. I mean, I asked you, didn't I? I said, right, who would be your good, bad, and the ugly of all the cases? Right. Let's finish off with this one because I've kept you nearly an hour now. and if everybody in the chat put down who of all the cases that you've looked at, and exclude Making a Murderer, because we all know who the good and bad and ugly are in that one. But of all the other cases, who would be your good, bad, and ugly? And so we're looking at, for example, The Staircase.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about, although you've not seen it yet, the
Confession Killer.
We're talking about Dream Killer. We're talking about, here's one, A Murder in the Park. We're talking about the Luke Mitchell, Jody Jones case. Scott Davis. We're talking about the West Memphis, the Central Park 5. Yeah. All $50 million bullet.
How about the cases from Exhibit A?
Yeah. So
George White, I believe, is the first one. Yeah, that's way too tall to have been the guy that did it. But anyway.
Yeah. So Travis has said that West Memphis 3. That's obviously an iconic case. For me, what was weird there was that the father of one of the kids, he was very, very strange, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Have you watched
Rodney Reed? That's another one recently.
Was that his name?
David Thorne. That's one Casey covers.
Yeah, but Rod, in the case of the West Memphis 3, who is Rodney Reed? Is he one of the...
Rodney Reed is another wrongful conviction somebody was bringing
right,
up.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to say I don't see the connection between West Memphis and Rodney Reed.
No. Rodney Reed was just another one recently. I believe he was on death row and he was been, or something like that. And then he was brought back from death row. And anyway, I think I might be wrong, but anyway, he's another wrongful conviction.
Well, I've just recently started watching. I watched all the way through that one. Who murdered, killed Jessica Chambers. That's another very interesting one because that's still
ongoing. I don't think I've ever seen that one. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, that's ongoing. That is. So come on then. Who's right? Give me a name. Apart from making a murderer, who's of all the other cases you come across, who's been good?
Who's been good?
Who's been good?
Oh, well, I love James Farron from. It's a video I did. James Farron, prosecutor in from Dateline, I think it was, or Nightline. It was called The Pink Gun Mystery, I believe it was. Interesting, but anyways, what happened is the ex-wife of there's this couple, and the husband's ex-wife ended up dead.
Mm-hmm.
Ballistic matched the pink gun owned by the wife of that couple. Ooh, dang, Budweiser's. Hold on. Okay, so it matches the pink gun owned by the wife. The odd thing is that nobody liked to use that pink gun. Even though it was hers, she didn't even like using it because it would often misfire. It would often jam, and it would often have problems. So it was very odd that gun would have gotten used. But anyways, what it comes down to in the end is that they went after the wife. James Farron, the DA, went after the wife. But he was trying to build his case, and he had her and her son's cell phone activity for that day checked. Well, when hers was checked originally, she didn't have her Wi-Fi on. Like, the Wi-Fi was turned off. So her phone wasn't pinging the local Wi-Fi networks. But her son, on the other hand, did. He had it on. And when they eventually got the results from his phone, it showed that during the time when this was all supposed to be happening, she obviously had her son in the car with her, and his phone was like going down Main Street and pinging off of all the Wi-Fi networks of the businesses as they were driving down the street. And so it was absolute proof to the prosecutor that she hadn't done it. She was the wrong person. Let me explain why I respect this guy so much.
Mm-hmm.
They had built this up. The public already thought she was guilty. In fact, even after they let her go, she was still catching heat because the people thought she had done it. Okay, that's how much of a big deal had been made about it in the press and everything. But when he did the about face on this, and he decided to let her go, he took some heat. He took some crap for it. Okay? That he didn't have to do that. He could have probably easily gone forward and gotten a conviction against her, despite the fact that he knew that her and her son were clearly nowhere near what happened. But he probably could have went forward, and he could have probably shoehorned her into a conviction. But he didn't. And he took the heat for letting her go. But then he ended up nailing the husband's ass to the wall. And he nailed that fucker and got him. And he is now where he belongs.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you've just hit the nail on the head there. You've said that if the guy had wanted to prosecute, he could have easily secured a conviction.
Yeah. He could have pushed forward, and he could have shoehorned her in.
Yeah. Well, Travis mentioned somebody, Dennis Reardon. Dennis Reardon, is that right? Is that what he put? Dennis Reardon. I thought Dennis Reardon. I'm getting confused with Ray Reardon, the snooker player. Maybe well, but anyway, it's good, great.
Yeah.
I don't know Travis. Who Dennis Reardon is? Was he something to do with the West Memphis 3 case?
Could be. I'm not sure myself.
But I would suspect that whatever you think about the guy you mentioned. Forgive me, I've just forgot his name already. What was his name again? Chris Hines or something? The guy you just mentioned.
The guy just.
In this case with the pink gun, what was his name again?
Well, James Farron.
James Farron. Sorry. Yeah. if you're impressed by this found fella, trust me,
Mick Fazell.
you Vic Fazell, you see what he does, what he goes through, in order to, he's like your this guy you've just mentioned.
Farron. And if you're right, I will sing his praises. I'll do a video just to sing his praises. Okay, I do like guys like Robert Milan, and James Barron. When there's guys out there who are desperate to get it right, more than they are desperate to puff their numbers, I like those guys. I dig those guys.
Yeah. Hey, what about the bad?
The bad, the King Kratz. No, he would be ugly.
He is the ugly. He is the ugly. He is by far.
The bad has to be Fallon. He even looks like the bad guy.
No, we're not doing Making a Murderer. We're doing other cases. I'll give you some names. Jim Hardin.
Yeah, I knew you were going to think of that one, but
Kevin Crane. Kim Worthy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You like that?
How about?
What's her name? Roberta Black.
How about Paul Howard, Scott Davis?
Yeah.
That guy's a slimy one.
Yep. So, why is Ken Kratz worse than any of those?
Well, Ken Kratz never believes he ever does anything wrong, and even when he's caught, he just makes excuses and obfuscates, and tries to change the subject and misdirect and use every petty trick in the book to divert attention from what he's done.
I've just had a whole load of obviously responses, comments over the last few days to these videos about the Judge Duffin's decision, and Charles Darwin, who is Ken Kratz, of that there is no doubt. I mean, Ken isn't really trying to hide it very much anymore. It's he actually, Ken, through the name Charles Darwin, got in touch and said, look, you do realise that Judge Duffin cites a book by a guy called Leonard. Is it Leonard Rio? Somebody Rio and Steve Drizzen. And his first comment was, "You do realise that the judge actually cited a book, a book by."
Oh,
sorry, a book by Steve Drizzen.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? And I put, I'd love to buy that book. Where could I get that book from? Just to stop you up a bit, because he's been trying to sell his book.
Right.
So he comes back with but you'd have to ask Judge Duffin that. But what would you think if the Seventh Circuit, in their in their opinion, in their summing up of Brendan's case, what would you think if the Seventh Circuit had used my book as reference? And I'm like, are you serious? Can you imagine even somewhere as corrupt as the Seventh Circuit, Judge Hamilton and Sykes, and Easterbrook, and
wanting to cite a guy who's been disgraced,
wanting to cite the book of somebody who had to resign as a district attorney because he was abused. No, he wasn't just abusing his own staff, because there were people in human resources, down the stairs or up the stairs, whatever it was, in the same building that he was being abusive towards and saying all that stuff. But he's picking on people who, SVG, who had just been in this abusive relationship, and because I get the sense that because she's had to come in and explain to him about it's got him going, hasn't it? It's got him fired up. It's got the juices flowing. He's thinking, I'm onto a winner here. I mean, for goodness sake, can you imagine the Seventh Circuit citing Ken Kratz's book? I mean, they surely can't be that daft.
Definitely not. And look, most people know, even even a lot of people that watched Making a Murderer and still believe Stephen and Brendan are guilty, still think Kratz is a sleazeball, and still think he's still think he still makes their skin crawl. I'll put it that way. So he's not popular. So I'm sure that the judges at the Seventh Circuit were not keen to use anything from his book because they knew that would probably come off as very unpopular. And look, they were already peddling some BS in their majority decision. So
yeah, but I just wonder, because I've actually you don't have to purchase this book by Drizzen and somebody else. It's there as a PDF. It's about 190 odd pages. Right. It's on the old interweb. So I am going to read that as well, because I think that would be very interesting to get the words of Drizzen and his friend. One other thing I was going to ask. One other thing, and then honestly, I'll let you go. It was to do with the fact that you were talking about how Kathleen Zellner had been in touch with Tom Fallon, and they were going to organise to get the car. Yeah. And she says, "Well, should we? And we're going to get an evidentiary hearing. Should we mention that to the judge?"
Right.
And what you pointed out was you said no. That Fallon said not yet. Let me organise getting the car for you. Well, surely that then involved him phoning up Calumet County Sheriff's Department, possibly speaking with Mark Regan. Right, we need to get this car sorted out because Kathleen Zellner is going to test it. Do you think then the phone call went, or that the message was relayed to Judge Flowers? Do you think that's why she shut it down within a couple of days?
I suspect that there may be some chain of events that maybe resemble something like that. Yeah.
I mean, when do coincidences cease to be coincidences? I mean, it was unheard of for a judge to just suddenly.
Yeah. Hey, look, it is odd. It looks like everybody thought the thing was headed for an evidentiary hearing. I mean, it looks like everybody was convinced that's what was happening. And, I mean, to see the prosecution just basically acting as if it was a foregone conclusion, to me, tells me that that's probably what should have happened. Because if they believed that that was what was going to happen, that's probably what should have happened. Because if all parties believe that it's basically going to happen, and or should happen, then why did it not happen? And it's just, bizarre.
I'm just having a look through to see if there was any comments that we particularly wanted to. There you go.
There we go. Drizzen's book is on what? I think is what he meant.
Trav, I will send you the link. I will send you the link to that.
We'll send you the link. We'll send you the link, Trappist, just as soon as Julie has your content, so that she can start the slideshow. We'll send you that link right over as soon as Julie lets us know. Sorry. Anyways, yeah.
Are you coercing him in some way?
I'm taking the piss. Yeah.
You finish that, and you will need to take a piss. And
I do need to take a piss.
I've kept you for more than an hour. So listen, I'm going to say cheerio. Thank you very much for coming on and having a wee chat with me. Maybe tomorrow I'll look at some more of the Duffin stuff. Have you got anything that you're planning on doing over the next few days?
I wanted to mention that, folks, that the people that over at Eagle Nation, they are getting ready to offer their own line of hoodies and shirts. So anybody that's interested in that, go check that out. It looks like I have permission to offer some Wrecking Crew, Michael Funk, $50 million bullet material. I'm waiting for the final decision on that, but pretty much all the preliminary decisions is a yes. Waiting for one more person to weigh in. But it looks like we're going to be offering something for Wrecking Crew members that want to represent Michael Funk and the Wrecking Crew at the same time. We should have something over at the Zazzle store, at the Zazzle store soon. And yeah, try to say that 5 times fast.
Not Van Winkle.
Yeah.
You're not going to do Van Winkle.
Yeah, so we're in the process of getting permission for that. We're going to offer T-shirts, and I've decided we're going to probably try to offer a hoodie if we can over on the Zazzle. So we know hoodies are popular, especially at this cold time of year. All right, so yes, those were some of the things I wanted to say.
Whoa. That's one of the things. Okay. But is there something else that you're going to do over the next few days? There's something else on my mind that you need to do the next few days?
Spit it out, buddy. What are you trying to remind me of?
You're going to do something? You're going to sit down and watch a TV program?
Oh, watching. Oh, yes. Sorry. Oh, yes. The Confession Killer? Yes. All right, buddy. There you go.
Thank you. Okay. Here we go. This, like, my routine is not quite the same as yours. Your routine.
It's Merry Christmas from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Saying it's Merry Christmas from him. Dude, you messed it up.
Okay. Do it again.
It's Merry Christmas from me.
And it's a Merry Christmas from him.
There you go. Good job, buddy. All right.
Cheers.
Proud of you. Bye, everybody. There you go.
They've gone. And you need a piss, so
yeah.
So do I. So I'm going to say cheerio, and we'll catch you,
buddy. Alrighty, folks. That was my chat with Paul on Christmas Day for me, but morning of the 26th for him. But anyways, I love chatting with Paul, and we're going to probably be getting together with some other folks here soon and having a little chat on YouTube with some of the other YouTubers you guys have been getting used to and seeing out there. So those are some of the things we got going on. But hope you guys who missed that chat between Paul and I last night on his channel, hope you got to enjoy it now, and that you hopefully wouldn't have otherwise missed it. But either way, as long as you guys got to see it, had a good time talking to Paul. So, look forward to, like I said, a chat with Paul and I and maybe some other folks here coming up. Hopefully before New Year's, but we'll see what we can do. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.